Special meeting / public hearing will now come to order. Clerk, you will make note of those on the council that's present, please. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone, if you would, to let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If y'all would remain standing, I'm going to ask Reverend Daniels to open the meeting in a word of prayer.
Okay. Yes, everyone, bow your head. Father God, we come before your divine power, sovereignty at this time, the most humble manner in which we know how.
Yes.
Father, we come to thank you for our little city.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you for Sneads.
Thank you.
Thank you for a place where I learned to say the Lord's Prayer.
Yes.
Thank you for a place where I learned how to say yes, sir, no, sir.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Yes.
May I, please, thank you. Pardon me. All those kinds of things that was brought in my home, in this little town called Sneads. Lord, I thank you.
Yes.
And I thank you for this city, Father. I pray that you be with each and every one.
Yes.
Help them to make righteous decisions.
Yes.
Fair decisions. Sound decisions. And dear God, I thank you for our police department.
Yes.
And I pray, my Father, that the decisions that be made in this place be pleasing in thy sight.
Yes.
Father, thank you for our current president. Thank you for Congress and all the members of that Father that decide that the things that go on in this nation. But Father, help us to always remember that there is nothing too hard for you. Father, we appeal to you right now that this meeting be a meeting of intelligence, common sense, and get good results.
Yes.
We give you glory, we give you the honor, and we give you praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd like to say I appreciate everybody coming tonight. Everybody's aware of what the meeting's about. We want to bring some closure to these rumors that's been going around the town about the police department and so forth. And Mr. Rentz has got a presentation that we'll get to here in just a few minutes. But I want to recognize everybody that's here tonight that wants to speak. If you do want to speak, you got 3 minutes. You can approach the podium, state your name and your address. We want to hear from you. That's what it's all about tonight. Here's where the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
And we get to make the decisions, so we need everybody's input, and we're gonna keep this thing orderly. I don't expect no speaking out of turn and being disorderly, because we all here to conduct business and do it the right way. So if y'all will, just cooperate with us and we'll get through this thing. And I'm personally not in no hurry. We'll take all night if it needs it, because we want to resolve this thing if we can.
Amen.
And we want to do what's right for the people in this community. So at this time, I'm gonna ask Mr. Cox, if he will, to start us off.
Thank you. As the president of the council just said, you know, there hasn't been any discussion about getting rid of the police department. What there is a discussion about, and what we're here for today, is how are we going to fund the level of service of police protection that this community would want. Okay, it's strictly a budget issue. Mr. Rentz's primary job as manager is to prepare a budget, present the budget for your consideration and adoption with changes as you see fit, and then to implement that budget. He's going to tell you more about his job description, and he's going to tell you where the issues are that we're having right now in the city. And then he's going to tell you the options that are available to you to consider. No decision is going to be made tonight, of course, because this is all part of your budget, deliberation processes. With that, we'll turn it over to Bill, and if y'all have any questions at any point for me, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and listen.
Mr. Rentz.
Good afternoon. My job as town manager is to make sure that we have a balanced budget and that we are able to live within our means and take care of the things that the town needs to take care of. That's my main goal, not to get rid of anything. I looked at when I took the job about a year ago, the town was $350,000 in the red. and we had to do some things to get it resolved, and I'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. The other thing I want to say is, I've been a resident of Sneads for 60 years. I'm not somebody that's moved in here and somebody from out of town that's doing this. I've been here all my life. I live right in the middle of town. The other thing about it is, I carried a badge and a gun for 35 years. So I'm not anti-law enforcement, but I do have to do what I have to do for the budget, because I don't want to be the person when they come in here and say, look, your town is bankrupt, how'd you do that? I don't want to be the one that's standing there having to look them in the eye. So we've got to make some hard decisions. Things aren't like they used to be. I remember 60 years ago when we had one constable. I remember back in the day when we had Earl Baxter as the town police officer. I remember all that. I've watched it grow over the years. A lot of things have grown, but a lot of things haven't, and that's been our revenue. And that's where we're at today. And I want to make sure that y'all see that, present it. There's not rumors, I want this, I want that. I want to present the budgetary information and let the council make the decision that they need to make. And that's where we are, okay? As you see, my duties right there is to prepare the budget annually, submit it to the council. I'm not gonna read all this to you, y'all are smart enough to read, okay? Prepare and submit the town at the end of each fiscal year a complete report on the finances, keep the town advised of the financial condition of the future of the town, and to submit a recommendation of capital improvements. Well, we haven't been able to do any capital improvements over the years because we haven't had any money. When I took over last year, we were $350,000 in the red, and there's no capital improvements you can make on your town when you're that far in debt. So, and I'll get into that again in a few minutes. The second one I want you to look at, this is the town budget right here. This is your revenue that you get in from the state of Florida. It's a lot of different kind of taxes, property taxes, you'll see that. There's franchise taxes from, the electrical companies, propane companies, there's gas taxes, there's sales tax. This is where we get all of our monies for the general fund. And you say, well, what about my water bill? Your water and sewage are separate bills. They are a separate entity. You pay for your water sewage, and all that money goes to water sewage. Your general fund is what you pay your police department, and there's other things that have to come from it as well. And I'll show you those in just a minute. Any questions about any of that? Let's move on. The other expenditures that come from the general budget, you have to take care of the administration of the town, streets, your volunteer fire department, and I know it's volunteer, but they do get funding from us. Your fire rescue, sanitation, which is your mosquito control, and that's very expensive because the amount of the chemicals for the mosquito control is very expensive. The health department, to run that building down there, the Sneads Park, recreation department, and the police department. All that comes out of the general fund. So it's not just for the police department, it's for 9 different accounts, okay? What I did was, when I did a feasibility study on where we could cut back. And it says, during the budget year that just a few months after I took over, when I looked at our budget, we were $350,000 in the red, and I went, what have I got myself into? Okay, part of it was water sewage was about $200,000 of it, and the general budget was about 150 or so of that deficit. What we did was ACI had not had an increase in their sewage funds. They used about 60% of our sewage plant, and they were paying about 25 or 30% of the fees. So I did a contract. I got together with my staff, and we did a contract for the Department of Corrections. I sent it to Tallahassee, and they approved it. And we started generating more monies in October of this year, to the tune of $17,000, $18,000 a month that they were shortchanging the town, and it's not ACI's fault. They paid what they were requested to pay. We just hadn't asked for an increase in a while. And so I asked for the increase. We got it. We did a raise with the citizens' water sewage, and between the two, we have balanced the budget with water sewage. The other problem was the general fund, was that the previous administrator gave $156,000 worth of raises to the police department. In raises, additional staffing, and et cetera, without any way to pay that from year to year. He utilized ARPA funds, which are non-recurring funds, to do that initially, okay? And those ARPA funds were used for the COVID-19 recovery. It was a one-time amount of money that we got. He utilized that money to increase them $150-something thousand, and then once the ARPA funds were gone, there was no money to offset that. So we were able, through attrition and we had an officer leave early on when I first started. We had 2 officers that moved to Chattahoochee. We hired 1 back. We did some attrition by natural attrition, and we're able to balance the budget and get it to where instead of being $350,000 in the red, within a month or so, we were $30,000-$40,000 in the black. So we were able to get our budget under control. And that's how we did that. That's exactly what we did. If you look at the next slide, this is the operating expenses for 2025 from the police department. The majority of that are fixed costs that you can't control. It's salaries, Social Security, retirement, health care is a large majority of that budget. Those are fixed costs that you cannot change. The reason they're so high is because the previous administrator gave all of them large raises to get everybody to $45 minimum $1,000 a year. Some of them got $10,000 and $15,000 raises in one fell swoop, and that jumped it up. And with all the other things involved here, the total budget that we had for this year was $687,302. That was our budget when we did the budget last year. Let's go to the next slide. The current town general budget is approximately $1.2 million. That's from all the funds that I showed you earlier on that slide, the state taxes and all the information that comes from the county, state, most of it from the state. The police department in fiscal year 2024, their budget was $732,853, and in 2025 it was reduced to $687,302 because we cut back on a couple of officers that left, and we didn't replace them so that we could get the budget under control. But it's still a hefty amount at $687. That's over half of the $1.2 million right there. Let's go to the next next slide. Budget concerns. I've spoken with FDLE recently. There's concerns about cybersecurity, and from what I understand, last year in Washington County, I think a company in Russia hacked the computers in Washington County, did ransomware, and the county had to pay $300,000 to get them to release their computers. Based on that, FDLE, with all the sensitive information regarding in the law enforcement computers, they want to increase the firewalls, and I don't understand any of that. Let me just tell you up front, I don't understand it, but to make it more secure, they're going to require all municipal and state and county agencies that have a computer to do this, to upgrade their security for the computers. I've heard as much as $100,000 a year, but I did an estimate of about $50,000 a year. Okay, a couple of years ago, there was a lot of dissension with the board about moving the dispatchers to Mariana and not keeping them local, and it was done. If they had not done that and made that decision, the total budget would be $887,000, which is 73% of our general budget. So while it might have been not a popular decision to move those dispatchers to Mariana, had we not done so, that would be an additional $150,000 that we would be paying, which would put us, like I said, at 73% of the budget. Without the dispatchers and with the cybersecurity in the future increase, and that's out there, that hasn't happened yet, but that's in the future. The police department budget will be $737,000, which is 61% of our general budget. 61%. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Future budgetary concerns. I've been to a couple of conferences already and some meetings in Northwest Florida. with several administrators, and some of the concerns are DOGE. Y'all heard of DOGE? It's a Department of Government Efficiency. It started in Washington. We also have one in the state. We've already gotten stuff from the state of Florida asking us to report on how we're spending our money. They're looking at waste, duplication of effort, and inefficiency. And we've already had to report back to them twice, and there's going to be more to come. They're going to come in and they're actually going to do an audit of our town, every municipality in the state, to make sure that we're not wasting money. Property taxes. There is a push, and it's going to be on the budget in 2026 to get rid of property taxes. Now, I don't know how that's going to turn out. All they need is a 60% vote to do that statewide. I have a feeling it's going to pass. If you get a letter, if you had to vote and said, do you want to pay property taxes or do you not, how are you going to vote? You're going to vote no. Most people are. If that goes through, then we will lose $195,000. That was what our budget was for property taxes this past year. So that would take our general budget from 1.2 to about $1 million, and that's another loss. It hasn't happened yet, but it's there. They're saying they're going to replace it by some means or manner, but I don't trust Tallahassee. So, I just don't know what may happen from there. Grants. The lifeblood of everything you see that's going around you right now are grants. The roads, the parks, everything we've got going on are grant monies. I've been to 2 or 3 conferences, I won't say several, about 3, and they're telling us the future of grants are cloudy. Don't anticipate them, we hope to be able to get them, but they're talking about trying to reduce the deficit nationwide, and they're talking about cutting back on grants. If they do that, then if we don't have some monies to do some things on ourselves, there'll be absolutely no growth in this town, none. Because we depend on grants, and they may not be there in the future. It's uncertain, I don't know the outcome. I hope that we can get them, and I'll continue to try to get them. But there's some uncertainty about grants, and that's what, everything you see that's going on are grants. And we've got a park down there that we're fixing to get on the right side of the lake where the hotel is. We're fixing to get that for the town. To fix that up, we're gonna need some monies, and we gotta have some monies to do that kind of stuff. Next slide. I did a survey of towns in the Panhandle that did not have a police department. A lot of these are a lot larger than we are. And I contacted them to see what they thought about, if they were surviving and doing well without a police department. And all these indicated that they had no issues, no increase in crime. They were covered by the sheriff's department, either through the sheriff's department doing that or through contracting with the sheriff's department. Towns, Weewa and Century, which are about the same size as us, I talked with their managers and they indicated that they had a police department, they got to where they couldn't afford it, so they utilized their police department as a substation. The sheriff's department took it over, and they're happy with it. I'm just telling you that they're happy with it. And there's been no crime increase, no issues. We've got towns in here like $10,000, 10,000 people in Freeport, no police department. Destin's got 14,000, but they contract with the sheriff's department. They have law enforcement, but they contract with the sheriff's department. So if you look at the percentage of what we're paying for the police department, can you hit that next slide? Mariana is paying 23% of their general budget for police department. Graceville 29, Chattahoochee 29, Sneads is paying 61% of our budget on the police department. That's a reality. I've got those figures strictly from each town. If the citizens of the town had to fund the police department without the general fund doing it, it would cost each person that pays a water bill $75 a month to fund the police department. And that's the actual cost. With 800 people that pay water and sewer bills, if they were to fund it, it would take $75 additional in addition to your water sewage to fund the $700 and something thousand that it would cost for the police department. I don't know how many people are willing to do that, I don't know. As I mentioned on the bottom, each town I contacted indicated they had no crime increase, and they were able to do more with the community with the increased funds that were available for them, so.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but in the 2023-24 budget, there was $1.55 million in intergovernmental revenue that the city received, and $400,000 in other revenue. Did it just go away?
Grants,
Yep.
but you can't count that as reoccurring monies. Like, so that's a one-time thing when the grant's gone. Those monies, the 1.2, are the reoccurring funds.
It could have been leftover ARPA funds as well.
Yeah, it's funds that aren't coming in every year. Additional costs incurred. Records indicate that the town of Sneads indicated that operating the police department has resulted in several lawsuits. Legal expenses resulting from the police activity totals $1.1 million over the past several years. Now, that money has not come out of the Sneads coffers. Let me just say that. Some of it has, but some of it is where the insurance company had to pay because of malfeasance by the police department, or suit against the police department, or the police officers suing us. And it's been a total of $1 million. That's payouts by the insurance company, payouts by us, and increase in our liability insurance. It's skyrocketed, and you'll see that on our next slide down the bottom. Our town, based on the things that have happened, a large majority of them with the police department, and some of it couldn't be helped. I'll be the first one to say a lot of it couldn't be helped. It's $265,000 a year for liability insurance. That's what we pay, and the town is paying every year in liability insurance. It's a lot of money.
Liability workers' comp.
And yes, liability on workman's comp. Possible solutions. I tried to think of everything that we could do to resolve this problem. And I'm just gonna bring these up, and of course the council will make the final decisions on everything. We can keep the police department as it currently operates. It's not staffed fully now. We're down to 2 officers. We've had 6 leave in the last year. They left the first, I started in last April, and within a month we had somebody leave, was fired actually. And so we've lost 6, and so we're down to 2. But if we worked at full capacity, the pros of that would be 24-hour coverage like we've had all along. The cons would be it's going to take $737,000 to do that. We'd have no fundings for other projects if grants opportunities are reduced. No funding for unexpected expenses such as vehicles, equipment repairs, infrastructure, etc. I'm gonna give you an example. We last Friday we had a motor to go out on our well, $10,000. It was a 1960 motor on the well. If we don't have monies set aside to do those kinds of things, then we can't provide the services that you want, as water and sewage and that kind of stuff. We have to have monies to do that. Another problem is officer retention. A lot of times officers will be hired here, they'll get a couple years experience, and they'll go to another law enforcement agency that pays them more money or gives them better insurance. It's just officer retention has been a problem. Solution number 2 is to disband the police department and turn everything over to the sheriff's department. Now, if we did that, the pros, you'd save $737,000 because it wouldn't cost us any money to do that. Increased funding for town projects, increased funding reserve for unexpected expenses. Sheriff's Department uses the town building as a substation, which should increase their presence in the town, and it limits our liability expenses. The con of that is reduced local coverage and possible reduced response time. Possible. And for every time you tell me that the Sheriff's Department comes late, I can give you another one on the other side. I don't want to get into all that. I'm just talking about this is a reality of what it looks like. Number 3 is to reduce the number of Sneads officers and let the Sheriff's Department cover the remaining shifts. The pros on that is the local coverage. You'll have more local coverage. But the con of that is continued operating costs to town. Example, the dispatch fees, cybersecurity fees, car liability insurance. Just the dispatch fees, cybersecurity, and liability insurance costs is $165,000. So if you put 2 officers in Sneads with Sneads uniforms on, it's going to cost $165,000 plus to have them there.
Salary.
Just in salaries and, well, you'll pay the salaries, but the increases are the liability insurances and the cybersecurity increases and all the other associated costs. Possible solution number 4 is to contract with the sheriff's department for 2 officers who will be assigned to Sneads, and other sheriff's department will cover the remaining shifts. The officers assigned to Sneads will work during the peak hours, and then the other hours will be covered by the sheriff's department. The pros of that, the sheriff's department will utilize the town's police building as a substation for the sheriff's department, putting the deputies on this side of the county, continue to have some local law enforcement during the peak hours that we need it, use of Jackson County Sheriff's Department, more sophisticated resources, eliminate our liability insurance completely from the police department, and it will save the town approximately $500,000. So what you got there is and you say, what's the difference in having 2 Sneads police officers and 2 sheriff's department officers contracted to Sneads? $200,000. Because you're gonna pay liability insurance, and you're gonna have to pay the cybersecurity stuff, and you're gonna have to pay all those associated costs. If we have a department here, it stays here. If we contract with the sheriff's department and they put 2 people here, those costs will be shifted to them, and we won't have to pay it. So we'd have 2 officers that would be here during the peak hours. We would be able to utilize the sheriff's department on the other the non-peak hours, and it would save us $500,000 a year for projects and to better the town. The cons for that is that you have to pay for 2 deputy salaries, which you'd have to do the other way as well, and you lost every 24-hour complete local coverage. And those are the solutions that I see. There may be others that the council is reviewing, but that's a feasibility study, and this has got to do with finances, folks. What can we afford? You know, everybody wants to have what they want, and I understand that, but what can we afford and move forward in the future? That's it.
Okay, I got a.
Just kind of, may I, for just a second, just
Yes,
kind of reiterate on that again. What we're looking at is you've got 4 different levels of service that we can adopt as a town for the provision of law enforcement coverage in the town. And those were explained to you, and they each have their costs. And those were explained to you. So that's really where the questions are. What is the level of service that we want first? And then are we willing to pay the cost associated with that level of service? And then we get down to the horny part of where's the money gonna come from?
And I'd like to say one more thing. I was at a conference in Crawfordville a couple of weeks ago, and it was full of administrators, city and county administrators, consultants, and those kinds of people. I probably talked to 24 consultants and city administrators and people that do what we do for a living here. And they've looked at our budget, and they've looked at the cost of operating a police department, and they to a man have said there's no way they could see us doing that with that level of cost and that percentage of our budget. To a T, every one of them have said that they wouldn't do it in their town, and that it was just too much of a burden, and it would keep you from doing the things that you needed to do in your town. And it's just a lot of money for the little bit of money that we get in. We don't have other resources that we can do for our general budget. It is what it is. It comes in from the state, and it's there, and you've got to live within it, and you've got to make good decisions on how to utilize that money.
All right, before I recognize any public out there, does any council members want to start with any questions about anything? But I'm gonna circle back to this again, but I do have a couple of questions up front.
Sure.
On the $737,302, how many officers will that fund?
I think that was.
What y'all figuring that, basing that?
That's what we started with at the beginning of last year, and I think that was 6 officers, if I'm not mistaken.
6 officers and a chief?
I think that was including the chief.
Okay, 6
I think that
and a chief,
included
okay.
the chief.
All right. Let's see what else I have here. I'm asking these questions for the public because everybody needs to be informed. Do we have money to fund the police department next budget year?
We won't know that until the state does their budget, which they still have not done yet, and those numbers won't come out until we'll start getting them in July.
So,
The state has to do their budget first, and then we'll start getting our revenue numbers in July.
okay.
So we won't get those numbers.
Right,
in
I understand that, but I wanted the public to hear that. We don't know yet.
We
Right,
don't
won't
know.
What
our
we gonna
numbers
get,
till
how much we
July.
gonna get.
They're starting to come in, they should come in
And
the next month or a month or
The
two.
numbers that we get from Tallahassee is what's
Is
gonna.
what
make-
we base
we're gonna
our-
have to base
what
our
we base
decision
our
on
budget
What we're gonna
on.
be able to do with the police
Exactly.
department.
Right.
Okay.
And we never know from year to year exactly what they're gonna be.
All right, I'm gonna open up the audience, and like I say, it's gonna be 3 minutes at a time. You'll get one time, you got to approach the podium, give us your name and your address. Whoever wants to volunteer first, make your way front, come on. You got the timer on now?
I'm getting there.
Before we start the time, as a representative of the city, Mr. Rent's got 22 minutes and 33 seconds. As a representative of the police department, I'm asking for 9 minutes. Because I can't. I started last time, I got about 3 minutes into it, that's about how far I would get into it again.
Well, out of fairness, like I mentioned to you, I got to recognize the general public too, and I wanna be fair with everybody. If I give you 9, Quentin, we're gonna have to give everybody else 9, I mean, so.
Well, listen, I'm gonna ask you to speak, you can have my 3, but do it come.
No.
Well, hey, y'all kinda keep it orderly, what do you, Attorney, I'm gonna let
Well,
you.
you know, that's gonna be unmanageable. You just had how many people call out that they would give it up? And,
And Robert's Rules of Order say.
and this is strictly about what level of service that they want to adopt.
Wasting time. Well, I have some valid points to make, and Mr. Rent's getting unlimited
Hey.
time to make his. I would like.
Quentin, I'm gonna give you 9 minutes, set the timer.
Okay, thank you to the council, I'll be as quick as I can. Thank you to the council, I'll be quick as I can. This police department started 94 years ago. I started here 42 years and 4 months ago before leaving to go to the police department, the sheriff's department. Y'all know that just a couple of years ago, we had full-time dispatch, full-time officers. We're down to me and Brett. That's it. We're not making $350,000 between the two of us, I promise you. Sneads has been compared to towns of similar size like Cottondale. Sneads is not a pass-through town for law enforcement. Deputies drive through Cottondale on the way to Alford, Round Lake, Compass Lake, Jacob, Campbellton, and Graceville, but Sneads isn't on the way to anywhere for law enforcement except South River Road. For the record, our officers and the sheriff's deputies have a great working relationship. Just last month, we took calls for them 23 times out in the county, and the month before that, 29 times. And when we call on them, they help us. Like almost all law enforcement agencies, the sheriff's office struggles with high turnover rates. They have several openings now, and more leaving now, and more leaving in the near future. Just the other night, Lieutenant Preston called me to let me know that he needed some help. And the sheriff's department had responded, but they had 3 deputies working the entire county. 1 east, 1 west, and 1 supervisor. That's it. So I started doing a check every night that I worked, and about 40% of the time they're shorthanded. That's not their fault. They're just dealing with the same thing everybody deals with. So let's say the sheriff promised to have deputies set aside for Sneads, and then they have a whole zone or a whole side of the county that's unmanned. Do you think they're gonna leave that deputy here in Sneads and leave a whole side of the county unmanned, 200 to 400 square miles? It's not gonna happen. Cottondale called them yesterday, and their chief had a heart attack. They asked for help with an officer. The sheriff's office told them $49.50 an hour to provide coverage for Cottondale. $1,000 per shift for 1 officer to cover. So the fees that we're getting for Cottondale and here aren't matching up. I worked for the sheriff's office for 28 years, and I can tell you more often than not, there will be no law enforcement in Sneads. This is not meant to disparage anybody or any agency, it's just a fact of life. So let's say everything goes great, they get full staff, and then they give us 3 deputies. Then every other town in the county is gonna ask for the same thing. They're not gonna be able to do it. People often comment that our call volume and our crime rate is low in Sneads, therefore we must not really need a police department, right? Well, our call volume and crime rates are low because we have a police department. You cannot measure the amount of crime you prevent. If someone decides to rob a store, carjack an elderly person, bust the front window out of a store here in town, there's a good chance one of us is gonna drive around the corner at any minute or walk into that business. And if we don't, we're gonna be there in 1 to 3 minutes instead of 20 to 30 or 40 minutes. Geographically speaking, Sneads is 4 miles from Gadsden County. Chattahoochee is fully staffed, well-paid, yet they have gang issues, riots, murders, rapes, and robberies. It's not their fault. The last administration at Chattahoochee PD lost control of that city, and they hired Chief Miller to fix it. The problem is, once you lose control of crime in a community, it takes twice the amount of manpower, money, and resources to overcome it. Starting pay for their officers is $50,000 a year, and they still can't overcome it. Problem is, once you lose control, it's hard to get it back. Then you have Gretna, which is 18 miles away. They had a murder there last month. The man standing in his front yard got shot and killed. Quincy is just a little farther away. South Georgia, they're just overrun with crime. The fiery crash we had out here last month was somebody trafficking drugs into Chattahoochee that was chased into our city, and he ended up dying. Had a half a pound of drugs on him. There are a lot of things in this world that I don't know about, but mark my words, if the criminal element in Gadsden County and South Georgia finds out that you've abolished the police department here, this town will be unrecognizable. It'll be a place where your wife or teenager can no longer go to the store without fear of something terrible happening, and a place where anything you leave unsecured will be stolen. This town will be a playground for violent criminals. There'll be drug houses everywhere and violent crime around every corner. Crime will no longer be the exception, it will be the rule. This is not hypothetical, it's not a possibility, it will happen. There's a thing called a watering hole effect. Animals go to a watering hole because they know the other animals have to come there, and it makes it an easy place for them to attack them. This will turn into a watering hole because there will be nothing here to protect people. We're also waiting on approval for our school zone camera that's expected to bring in $350,000 a year. You can't get that money if you don't have a police department. That will have to be canceled. That'll pay for almost the whole department. We can provide quality law enforcement for much less than we have in the past. I've worked in law enforcement in every single community in this county over the past 42 years and can unequivocally say that Sneads is blessed.
That's right.
We have had one burglary in the past 6 months where somebody busted the window of the liquor store, stole a bottle of liquor, and ran. We've had no car thefts, very few violent crimes of any type, and a handful of petty thefts. Because of our low call volume, calls to the sheriff's office, that they don't have time to focus on, we do. Remember, it's only a trivial problem if it's somebody else's problem. With your own police department, you have the same officers every day that know what's going on here and know the people and know the culture of our local community. I've gone over this budget line by line and given the opportunity, if we could sit down with a liaison, we can work through this and make it work. There's only 2 of us right now. We work 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. The days I'm off, Brett works and vice versa. And Ashley fills in part-time in the mornings where he can. And if you think we're not dedicated to this place, when Brett gets off at 2 in the morning, he stays till 5 in the morning. He doesn't get paid for that. I've had bronchitis for a month. I've been at work every day but one day. I got a fever Sunday and couldn't come to work, and I'm working today on my off day to make up for that day. I know you all care about this town. Please don't make a decision that you can't come back from, and I thank you for your time. And I do have
Hey, before you leave the podium there, I want to say this to you. That was a great presentation, and I appreciate everything you and Lieutenant Preston's doing to keep us safe. I don't know about anybody out in the audience tonight, but me, just being around since Tyler's resigned and went somewhere else, and we're low on law enforcement, they already know that. The loud radios is getting worse. Ms. Rolak can attest to that. Four-wheelers is already running up down the sidewalks again, side by sides. There's a lot of stuff that's starting to creep back in on us. if you do away with the police department, like you said, it's gonna be a watering hole.
Yes.
And I appreciate everything y'all have done and everything y'all continue to do. And like I say, I want to see Sneads flourish. I'd like to see a lot of nice things come to Sneads too. But we gotta reach a happy medium, that's my feeling.
And I won't take any more time, but I gave y'all two proposals there. One is for 4 full-time officers and one is for 3 part-time, 3 full-time and 2 part-time. And what it would cost, and they're my guesstimates based on my math, so it may be off $1 or $2. But it's just under and just over $400,000 total to run the police department,
All right.
which is, I think, pretty reasonable.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for the-
Ma'am, you wanna step up to the... Behave yourself, but come on.
I'd like to step in and he's through so I can touch.
I'm gonna recognize.
I love Sneads. Okay, I have some questions. I may not, well, I am a retired teacher, but you know, that was years ago. So I have some questions. All right, I looked at the budget. Now, I don't know. It says, you were talking about all those figures. You've only used 58% of the budget for this year for the police. Where's that other money? I mean, what?
There's 5 more months of the budget year,
I thought it started in July. Oh, I'm sorry.
October.
Oh.
That's just up until this point. There's 4 or 5 more
Okay,
months to go.
that answers that. Okay. I knew it was 58%, okay. My next thing is that, I'm not sure, you know, we're limited in certain areas where we don't know our expertise, but I know, can we get a person that can help fix the budget, a person with a business degree, or can you bring in somebody, I mean, you know, that will look at it and say, this is what you do or what you don't do. I know you, and nothing against you, Bill, I'm sorry, but I know I don't know.
I've managed a $7 million budget in my previous job, and we have 2 accountants that look at our budget all the time.
Okay, that answers that. All right, the next thing, you talk about safety for $75 a month, it would cost the household. My garbage is $37 a month, I can sure afford another, you know. Am I comparing my safety with my garbage? Okay, my next thing is,
Hey, if y'all will, keep it a little bit orderly for us so we can hear what's going on.
Quentin, I wanna reiterate that, when you lose control, I know as a teacher, I saw teachers that lost control of their classroom, honey, you better run for your life. You know, I did.
The proper protocol, ma'am, is to address your
Oh, I'm
comments to the
sorry.
council.
Talk to the microphone.
I don't do this well, but anyway, so I would rather increase my water bill or something if I'm gonna be safe, because for sure, when you don't have protection, you're gonna get the riffraff, you're gonna get all this in here, and then it's too late. So we might have to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Chris Roberts, most of y'all know me in here, cut teeth in law enforcement here. Hadn't been too long ago up here talking about the police department. I think it needs to be downsized, and everybody here that, some of y'all live in the county, I know. If something happens at your house, Janine, you're gonna take care of it before a deputy ever gets there. You're gonna take care of it before a police officer ever gets there. So,
Comments to the board, please.
so I understand the concerns there, okay? Like he said, you know, we've had a police department here since 94 years, something like that. Okay, but it can be smaller than what it is. You can have a working chief, you can have an on-call chief, okay, that can come out and leave the house like Earl Baxter used to do many years ago to go handle something. Plain and simple, it can be done for less than what it's being done for now. Okay, and my water bill, as y'all, well, everybody's water bill's gone up. I don't like it. I'm gonna tell you the truth, I don't like it. I mean, it's, when I'm forking out $100 a month, basically, for water bill, trash and sewage, that's a chunk. Just to live in a small town. So, I mean, and what Clinton said about riffraff drifting in, I don't feel like it's gonna drift in no more than what it does in Malone or Alford, that don't have any. Snow Hill is known, Snow Hill Road, tell me I'm lying, is known for drug activity in Malone, Florida. And do you all ever hear much about anything going on in Malone? You don't see people trying to move up out of there, do you? All right, so my point on that is if you have to completely do away with the police department, I don't think we're gonna be overrun by gangs, okay? I really don't. I really don't. And just to go back to my beginning point, if somebody breaks in your house, you're gonna handle it before the police ever get there.
Amen.
Plain and simple. Okay, unless the only thing, and being a law enforcement officer, I've worked in corrections, I've worked in law enforcement, I've been a deputy sheriff, and a law enforcement officer is always cleaning up what's happening. He's always coming to your house to deal with a burglary or take care of a domestic violence. So it's always
Time.
past tense.
Time.
No,
Time. Appreciate you. Next. Anybody want to speak? Come on, Jim, 3 minutes.
I'm Jim Hamilton. I live on Blueberry Drive. I don't live in the city. Your budget is not my issue, but my issue is, yeah, I live out there, and I know that there's been times when my wife, who's a type 1 diabetic, has had issues. Red Preston showed up and took care of her because and the ambulance wasn't here, it was in wherever it was. So I know I can depend on the police department. And like I told Timmy the other day, not you Timmy, this Timmy, even though I don't live in the city, if I said, you know, expand the city out there. And he goes, well, we can't run no water and sewer. I said, I ain't looking for water and sewer. I'm looking for, give me trash and police. Because I'll feel safe. Yeah, I can shoot just as good. I've had to shoot. In fact, he takes me to the range as soon as we get range time. But the point I'm trying to make is you take the police department away, and like you said, Mike, you got the 4-wheelers out on the road, you got the loud music going on. When I worked here for the 6 years I was here, I just happened to pull up at what's now the Marathon, back when it was whatever it was, we had a little restaurant on the side. And only because I knew the lady was locking up, and I dadgum sure if I didn't pull up and the guy was trying to rob the place. He was holding a knife to the road. Why? Because I knew she closed at a certain time, so I went by there to make sure everything was good. Same way I did at the other stores when I knew they were closing. And why? Because I knew the town expected me that. Miss Dykes had owned the bait and tackle. I'd throw them cards through the door. Well, she knew somebody came by, and that to me, that was a tool. If she got broke into, I knew exactly when, because here's what time I came by and put that card through under her door, so we were able to narrow it down. Now you got all these cameras everywhere that film everything. You got your door cameras and everything else. That's just another tool for these guys to use in this town, because quite frankly, the sheriff's department, nothing against the deputies, they're doing the best they can do, I know that. But at some point in time, Sheriff Edenfield's gonna want money from this town to provide those officers, and then he's gonna have to, then he's gonna come back to you, well, we need vehicles. Well, you know, they're over there in your town. Come on now. Sooner or later, you're gonna see yourself right back up or close to it. When Sheriff McDaniel came over here years ago, when there was talk about doing away with the police department, Sheriff McDaniel and John Dennis were both sitting there, and they said,
Time.
well, sure, we'll provide you somebody.
Time. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, sir. 3 minutes.
All right, I'll take the first 2 minutes to say that thank you for the privilege to address these great people that are sitting here. Also, it's a pleasure to be in the presence of Bishop James, mentor of mine, a fellow clergyman, and all the other clergymen that are in the building. Glad to be in the presence of Mike Calvin, because that is a name that I will truly respect for the rest of my life.
Yes.
Now, I want to address the fact that there's not a man, woman, a boy, or girl that grew up in Sneads that's not impacted by pride and the feeling that we are a winner. Not a one of you. Not a one of you. We don't identify with Goliath. We identify with David. I was taught a long time ago, it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. I'm here to say that we don't measure quality in terms of dollars and cents. But what we measure here in Sneads is character. You can't pay for that. It's got to come with the package. And I'm here to tell you that these two officers that are loyal and standing close to us, we as members of this community, we are going to be loyal and we're going to stand close to them. Now, I've used 2 minutes, but I want to say this to you. We must stand behind our police department.
Amen.
I don't care what they're doing overseas. I have bragging rights that they can't say in New Orleans. I have bragging rights that they can't say in St. Louis. I have bragging rights that they can't say in Chicago, because we have two of the finest police officers on this planet Earth.
All right now.
Planet Earth. Officer Quinton and Officer Preston, who's given his life, put his life on the line in order to serve this community. Yes, we're going to stand by him. And I'm going to take my final minute to say to you, you can help me say this. I back the badge. I back the badge. I back the badge. I back the badge. I back the badge.
I do back to bed.
Appreciate you, Red.
Yes. Y'all better too.
Thank you.
Amen.
I want to make another comment if I could. I've been approached in town and in some of the stores by different people, just saying just the visibility of the police vehicle coming through their neighborhood makes them feel safer. We got a lot of older people in town. I'm one of them. I mean, I hate to claim that, but you know, that's important to a lot of people. A lot of people may never pick up the phone and dial 911 or 11, or may never call the police, but just the visibility of these patrol vehicles helps deter crime, I think. It's a crime deterrent. You ain't got to get out here and just run the roads and write bunches of tickets every day. Just be visible. That's my feelings on it. You know, and I'm going to sit here and take some of the blame for the way things has went in the past. Like I say, I respect both of these guys that are here tonight, and I appreciate what y'all do. Anybody that puts a gun and a badge on, you got my respect.
Amen.
It's a dangerous job for the little pay you get. It really is. But, you know, I've supported the police department for years. I've been around a long time. I've supported it, and I'm going to still support it. Like I say, but tonight was the night that we come here to hear the public and hear what their opinions were and try to gain from that so that we can make some good decisions for this community. We got to make some decisions, and sometimes, you know, they're hard decisions. But I feel like that we need to consider. And like I say, I'll back up and take some of the blame for the way things get. And I'm against, and if we go forward, I think every vehicle that we got here in this community, this police vehicle needs to be marked. It needs to have light bars, needs to have everything on it where they know who you are. We don't need no plain vehicle right around the Sneads. You know, that's just like anybody else on the street. You know, they don't know who it is really. Some of you, you know, finer people do, you know, that keeps up with things, but I think the vehicles need to be marked so that the people can recognize that they have been in the community. If you don't go through that community but once in a while, if they see you, it makes them, even my mom, I say on her behalf, she talked to me this afternoon. She's 85 years old. She said, it makes me feel better to know that There's somebody right there that I can call. Did I see a police vehicle every now and then when I go to town? I mean, just the presence. So, I mean, that's my say on it. So, y'all got any comments y'all wanna make, or anybody else know that's got any comments? I reckon that, come on, Jason, Larry, one of y'all, take it for 3 minutes.
I'm Larry Dean. I've lived in Sneads for 73 years. Got you, Bill. We need a police department. I believe all of y'all concur. I hope you do, and you too. But this is a budget meeting, and I just got a question. Bill, you said it'd be $75 a person for every citizen if we added that to our water bill, right?
If you had a full-time police department with six.
How many?
That's fully funded.
That's fully funded, as 800 households that pay water sewage. If you divided that and figured it out, $75 a month times 12 months times, the 800, it would be 700 and something thousand, which would fully.
We only have 800?
800 households that pay water sewage.
Larry, I want to interrupt you just for a minute though. I'm not for that. I'm for police protection, but I'm not for everybody paying $75 a month.
Oh, no. I'm not for that either.
We got too many fixed in.
What I am for is for y'all people, you were elected, you were hired to take care of us citizens.
Exactly.
And instead of just saying, boom, we're gonna get rid of the police department because we're short of money because of the budget, I'm saying, look into this thing. Is there any other way it can be done? Instead of just getting rid of the police department. I mean, we've had, like these people say, we've had police department the whole time. My mama used to talk about it, and she's dead, she'd be 96, and she said they had constables back when she was here. So we're actually just pleading with y'all, listening as citizens to this is what we want. And if there's any way you can do it, we shouldn't be fighting one another. We're all citizens. Y'all are citizens. We just want the best. We need a police department. I can come in West End of Sneads, they park a car there. The car in front of me automatically slows down when he sees that car. And that's what happens when you have a police. These people that come, I could read here what I've got. I wrote a thing on Facebook, all the stories we got. There's no question we need a police department. All these, the banks, all these places, the churches, when you have a presence of a police, it keeps the crime down.
Exactly.
So we, speaking for the citizens here, listen, we just do whatever you can to try to keep our place.
Thank you,
Thank
Larry.
y'all.
Jason.
My name's Jason McAlpin. I don't live in Sneads, about 1/10 of a mile out of it, but I do own a business in Sneads. So, Mr. Rentz, I had a question. The town budget is $1.2 million? That is the entire town budget?
That's the general budget that we fund everything from. We have a water and sewer budget that strictly is for water and
How
sewage.
much is it?
I don't have that information, probably a couple $1 million, I don't know.
About $4 million?
No.
But it can't be used for police department, it's
Okay.
strictly for water and sewage.
Okay.
They're separate
Okay,
funds.
the $5 that we pay every month for the fire department, what budget does that go in?
Goes in general fund, but it's for the fire
It
department.
goes strictly to the
Okay.
fire department.
Okay, so I was just hitting on Mr. Dean's thing here. $75 times 800 households a month is $60,000. Time a year, that's $720,000,
That's about what it costs.
which would be way more than it'd take to fund the police department that Quentin's talking about with his budget of around $400,000. Earlier, I guess I came in late. It said, that was on the screen, something about $500,000, that's what it would take, was that the sheriff's department taking over?
What that was, if the sheriff's department, if we paid the sheriff's department, we contracted 2 police officers to work during the peak hours in the afternoons and evenings, when the kids are getting out of school, when the businesses are closing, when the stores are closing and all that, for $200,000, and then there would be 2 full-time officers, and then they would cover the off-peak times.
Okay.
That would save us
Okay.
Over five.
I guess I'm
Can I
asking,
finish? Can
I guess
that-
I'm asking, when was that figure brought up? Because I did a public records request, and I got an answer from Danielle last week that you, nor none of the council had any communication with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department about taking over the police department. So-
You asked about a written communication,
I
there was
said,
none.
any communications, notes, handwritten notes, telephone calls, any of that.
Only thing you have to do is anything that's handwritten. I talked to the sheriff Friday and got some information from him, so I could bring that information to y'all tonight.
She sent me that before Friday. So somebody is being untruthful. I'm just saying that. But
You asked for a public records that anything that's written down, we'd have to give you, and I
read the
didn't have
public
any.
records request, any
I
notes,
have.
handwritten notes, telephone calls, emails, anything. I'm pretty good at writing those. And I was responded to by her and said, I've asked Mr. Rentz and all the council, there's been no communication. So I have the email.
I talked with him. There's no doubt
Well,
about
okay,
that.
then she lied to me,
No,
or
she
she lied
didn't
to
lie to
her.
you.
No,
The only thing that has to
you're
do with.
supposed to direct your comments to the
And
council,
you
sir.
are an attorney.
I am.
You're supposed to show up looking decent and prepared, not like you coming
Hey.
from Woodstock.
Jason,
Again,
we got
Time.
to keep this on off.
I'm gonna pass it.
really?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Stephanie Cook, known as Stephanie Dean, which is Larry Dean's daughter. And I live on Holland Avenue. However, I did live over by Mom and Daddy on Sumar Drive. I'm here to say we need a police department because when I called the sheriff's department probably about a year ago with the incident with a drug head, they couldn't get to me. But yet Preston made it there. I was told by the sheriff's department it would be 45 minutes before they could come to Sneads. But Preston was there within 5 to 10 minutes. Now, to spin off of that, we need a police department because I'm sure everybody in this little room knows the drugs we have in this town.
Yes.
And that's what I would like, being law enforcement myself, on the federal level, to take care of here. The drugs are out of hand. Over there on Sumar Drive, in that whole neighborhood, you can ride through there non-stop, and at any given day, you know when their drop-off time is, the pickup time is, when they're gonna get their money, when they're gonna go get their drugs, because they're walking the streets. Now, with that being said, I live there. I did not feel safe when I lived there. Now, I did feel safe because I had Daddy down the street. But with that being said, now I live on Holland Avenue. There's drugs up there, well, up the street. And I'm going to piggyback off what you said. Since whatever's taking place with our police department and people's gone, the music, yeah. They're driving up and down the River Road. They turn in on from Highway 90, and they're going 900 before they get to the church. Okay, with the big pipes, the loudspeakers, and those of us that work, it's at 9 o'clock at night. So I'm just saying, we need a police department. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, come on up, Red.
My name is Clint James. I'm not a resident of Sneads, but I own a business in Sneads. And I've had two situations wherein I called for the police department to come. And I was dispatched from Mariana. And the deputy come, the last incident was 28 minutes. And I have cameras around my building. So when they got there, I was able to show them the vehicle that came to my facility and show them that I had an incident. Anytime I get an incident around my building, I can see it at home. And so I come up here, and it takes 20 minutes for somebody to respond to me. And when they get there, I never get a report back. Had another situation wherein the gentleman walked into the door of the church, came in and threw down his book bag, and started approaching the pulpit, and I escorted him out. I called the police department, and a deputy supposedly came by, but I never seen the deputy. Nobody never knocked on the door to inquire with us or talk to us. But after that incident, I came to the police department here, because a deputy was supposed to be come by the church. We could have been held hostage. Nobody knew. And so I think that you need a police department. I don't think that even if it's just 2 officers, I think they're more familiar with the people that's in town than the deputy that came to me that day, this last incident. He came from Alfred. So that's almost on the other side of the county. So I think that's the response time for the sheriff department is not a time that you can depend on. They don't know the people in the town, so they just come in, like the incident where the gentleman came into the building. We could have been hostage, and they never checked. They never checked into the building to see if anything had happened on anything. So you got situations where I think that if you got the downsize. I'm a numbers person. When I start digging with numbers, and people start throwing out numbers,
Appreciate it. Anybody else? Come on, Ron. Just a minute, Roosevelt. Let me get Ron. I'll get you next, Roosevelt.
I'm Ron Mansfield. My question to this is, how did this get changed into a budget meeting? It was supposed to be just on the police department, whether or not we wanted it. That's what was said last meeting. And then all of a sudden it got changed to a budget meeting, which gave him all week to figure this thing out, how he's gonna present it. Now personally myself, I think you got some money missing here someplace. I don't think the police officers are doing this or are spending this kind of money. I think there's some stuff going on here that should have been covered, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, starting. And I think you need to do a forensic audit of this town. Because you make a budget and then you say, oh man, we ain't even got enough money to do this. What, you made a budget last year, you didn't say that. You made a budget the year before, you didn't say that. But I'd like to know why is all of a sudden this just a budget meeting?
I'm gonna try to answer this the best way I can for you. Like I say, we hired Mr. Rentz here to be a good steward for this community, and and figure budgets, and like I say, when he came in, the budget was in the red, and we worked hard doing some things had to be done that we really didn't want to do. Like I said, we lost a police officer, a couple. We've lost more than that now, but it was able to get that part of the budget back in to the black like it needed to be. He put this presentation together tonight, number-wise, so that the public could see, because a lot of people don't have an idea, don't have a clue about how much money we take in, where it comes from, or how it gets spent or anything. A lot of people don't realize that water and sewer money can't be spent on the police department. It's got to fund itself. It can't be used for anything else. So that's the reason he took it upon himself to put this figures together.
Budget, but you still haven't answered me why. All of a sudden this changed from a meeting about so basically the police department, not to a budget meeting about the police department, because it's all budget, and you didn't want to say it at the meeting, the last, council meeting?
Anybody wanna ask?
I think he came up with this because tonight's the first time we've seen any of this as well. To answer any questions there might have been, and maybe decrease questions there were of people. And I mean, honestly, I'll be honest with you, I thought there'd be a lot more people at the podium. So apparently it has answered some questions. I think the budget thing was just to do that, to answer questions, and like Mike said, to tell you how much it costs to run a town. Not just the police department, it costs to run this, and I think he addressed all that. Water and sewer, again, cannot cover the police department. Our insurance, the liability insurance, that's a big chunk. Things happen, police officers get shot, we can't help that. Brett couldn't help it, and by all means, we don't resent that one bit, but that's a cost that we can't help.
So the whole thing is.
Yes, he was protecting the town, absolutely, you're 100% right. But actually, he wasn't protecting in Sneads, he was covering somewhere else, okay? Because he's that kind of officer. Nobody, let me go ahead and say my piece real quick. Nobody has to tell me about Brett Preston. I've known Brett Preston since I was 4 years old, grew up with him, gone to school with him my entire life. So nobody has to convince me about the man that he is. You can't tell me of a finer man, okay? So let me clarify that in this room. Nobody wants to get rid of Brett Preston, okay? Let's get that straight. Nobody's trying to fire him, get rid of him. We love Brett. So please, let's clarify that, close that door. Okay, thank you. Okay?
So what you're saying is, the whole thing behind this was to make it a budget meeting, because you don't have the money. That's what you're saying. Why didn't you say that at the meeting?
Time's up.
So, well, I took some of his time, so please give him another minute. Please give him another minute.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead. I took one of your
So the
minutes,
whole
I'm
thing
sorry.
is, that you're saying you don't have the money to fund, but you have had it in previous years, but you don't have this year.
No, we've always been in the negative. We've never had it.
Can I
funded.
address that? When I took over a year ago and I looked at the budget, because of increases that were done with non-repaid funds, we're $150,000 in the red, we had to do something. And if we're gonna have things in the future for this town, other than a police department, we're gonna have to make some cuts and changes. I didn't say get rid of them, I gave you 4 options. One of the ones is to go where we are and have what we've had in the past. There's another option is to cut down and have maybe a few officers here and let the sheriff's department cover the rest. The other option is to let the sheriff's department contract with them to put 2 officers. It could be Brett Preston. He can apply for that job and still work here and be under the umbrella of the sheriff's department and save us a couple $100,000 in costs.
I don't have no excuse for the sheriff's department.
That's neither here nor there.
They are something else when it comes to reporting. Okay.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so
Just
a
a moment,
lot,
Judy.
a lot of this started years ago. We were living off of ARPA funds. ARPA funds are non-recurring funds. We've been living off that for years and years and years. So there's not money missing or anything like that. Those funds are gone now. So now we've got to do something. Some council members that were on here in the past, we told them, look, if you give these officers this increase, you need to take these steps in order to do this. If you don't do these steps, we're gonna be in a hole. That's where we're at now. We're in a hole.
That's when I started.
Those steps were not done. So now we're in a hole.
What?
That's why they brought you in.
So we are in a hole now. So now we gotta do something to fix that because the ARPA funds are gone, steps weren't taken to cover those non-recurring funds. So now we've got to do something. That's where we're at now.
So basically what you're saying is those funds were counted in as a budget.
Yes.
Instead of like a bonus When
Exactly.
you get a bonus at work, you don't count that into your budget.
You're
Right,
exactly
right.
We were supposed to be putting in some ways
And just-
to offset that and never.
That was extra
and
money,
never-
that
and
should
never-
have been budgeted
and it
into
was
our
never-
budget.
it was never done.
Exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. They were kind of like a
Recognize the term.
carryover that we didn't have.
To remind council also, you are audited every year.
Yes,
Right.
Judy,
by 2 audits.
come on, Chris.
I just want to say I'm Judy Lanier, and I do not live in the city limits, but I do own property in the city limits. I've lived here all my life, and I love Sneads. And I appreciate our council, I appreciate Bill and our other staff here. They have done an excellent job with this town, and you can tell the improvement since Bill has been here. The police department, I've only had, thankfully, one dealings with them since I've been here, and I wasn't very pleased with the progress that I got with them. They was rude and very disrespectful to me, and I've never gotten closure on that. And it's not you or Preston, y'all wasn't the ones here. But the sheriff's department, if they're willing to help us so we can save money, and we have 2 police officers too, I think that's the way we should go. I mean, look at the money situation. So that's, I know I've got friends that don't agree with me, and I hope I don't get shot when I get back to my seat.
Don't worry about it, next job be dead.
I love you. Everybody in Baskin Robbins has 33
My name is Clarissa Patterson. I live down on Section Avenue, and I was born here, raised here. I've been here all my life. Hadn't been nowhere. I ain't planning on going nowhere. And I personally feel that we do need our police department. I live alone, and down where I live is a lot of activity goes on, a lot. And you can't never say never, because by the time you say ain't nothing gonna never happen, that's when it's gonna happen. We have a lot of strangers walking through, all the time. It's just like, it makes me nervous because you don't never know what they trying to scope out, if they trying to see who's where and all that. So I really feel like we do need our department, and I really feel like Brett and whoever, they doing a good job. And I feel like if we do away with it, that's when stuff is really finna start happening. Thank you.
Roosevelt.
I felt robbery if I didn't, but to the council and to the city manager, the attorney, to you got, all I'm here is to say, I don't know what the city y'all gonna do, what y'all gonna do. But just like my sister said, we was born in this town, we was raised in this town. And I know about the police department, even when you talking about Mr. Earl Baxter, even when the old jail, maybe a lot of people don't even know, they tore the jail down. That jail was, that people were locked up in that jail. They tore it down. That was, to me, that was part of history.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? But I'm gonna say this. Whenever I call, I have a problem, the police come.
They come.
And it get resolved. Because one thing, I live on Section Avenue, and there have been some speeders and all, I will stop them.
Oh, yeah.
I said, because my neighbors got children. And if you hit somebody's child, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen, because someone done told me they gonna kill them. So if ain't no order in this town, I'm gonna tell you another thing, if no police protection is here, I don't wanna be here. And that's just it.
Anybody else? Podium still open? Y'all wanna make any comments?
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is I'd like to thank everybody that came out this afternoon and voiced their opinion on what you believe and what you think. I really want to thank you. I appreciate it, the council we does. But what I want y'all to do is I'd like to invite y'all to come back every second Tuesday of each month. Don't just come when you hear a certain topic. If you want to know what's going on, come every second Tuesday of the month, and you'll find out a lot of information, and you'll know exactly what's going on. Lieutenant Preston, I want you to come to the mic right quick, and I'm gonna tell y'all why. So before I ever came on the council, what did I tell you about the police department with this money issue? Before I ever came on the board, what did I tell you?
You sat down, we talked at the station, and you told me that we were fixing to be in dire straits because we got our raises from ARPA funds and only lasted 2 years. You told me that approximately 2 years before you became on board. You told me that once those funds ran out, there was no backup plan, that we were gonna be in trouble.
Thank you. And I said that to say that is, had I not been coming to these meetings, I wouldn't have known that. So if you come to these meetings, you'll know beforehand what's going on. And we're not trying to keep nothing secret. We want y'all to be involved. That's what we want. And then I also want y'all to know that we never said that we was gonna disband the police department. Mr. Rentz, he's done an awesome job with doing his research, his background. Like he said, that's what he's supposed to do. And that's why we have different options of things that we can do. Not that we just said that we was gonna do away with the police department. That's not what was said. He looked at the budget, he came up with different things that we could decide on. So we never said that that was what we was gonna do. They were said that we were gonna dismantle the police department. We never said that. That never came out of any of my mouth. And actually in the previous meeting, Mr. Weeks, he actually said that he put that rumor to rest, but at that time, it wasn't that many people in here. But if all of y'all would have been in here when he made that comment, y'all would have knew that it was a rumor that was going around. And then I'd just like to say that everybody knows I'm on the fire department. We work very well with the police department. Lieutenant President, he could tell you, I don't know how much we talk about different things that's going on. Or I'll call him, hey man, we need X, Y, Z. He'll say, Timothy, y'all need anything? What's going on? Or we might have to call him, hey man, we need some assistance. Can you get somebody out here to help us? We have a great working relationship together. We talk about a lot of things. And just like Ms. Locke said, can't nobody tell me nothing about the commitment that this man has for the town. I mean, he does a lot of stuff that y'all don't even know about. I'm talking about, I even tell him sometimes, I said, man, you too dedicated. I said, because I couldn't be that dedicated. I mean, but he does it because he loves this town. And when I tell y'all that this man loves this town, he loves it. I mean, literally, he will lay down his life to protect this town. And there ain't many people that'll do that. A lot of people, they might want to wear a badge and carry a gun, but they don't want to get shot. But we talking about a man that's been shot more than once, and he's still standing here today. So what that says about his character and what he believes about this town.
Amen.
So I just want to let the citizens know that it's not that we're trying to disband the police department in no kind of way, because I'm definitely pro-law enforcement for those guys. And Brett could tell you, we've talked to him many times, and he knows exactly how I feel. And so we just trying to make sure that with the money that we have, that we do what's best for the town and the citizens, which is why that I just want to thank y'all for coming and voicing your opinion so we could do what's best for the town and the citizens. And thank you for all you've done, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
Ms. Cook, I just didn't quite understand about the drug dealing and on your street and all that. And you said we all or you know when they're going to make a drop or get money or whatever. I don't know anything about drugs. I mean, I do know that they're sold. Never bought any or sold any. But was the police department called? I mean, why was there not any arrest made?
I couldn't tell you that. I just know that at any given time, you can go sit on my mom and daddy's front porch, especially the first, matter of fact, Friday, when they get their money, they go sit on mom and daddy's porch, and you can watch it all weekend long. People walking all around the neighborhood. Josh can tell you the same thing. He lives in that same neighborhood. But it's not just that neighborhood. It's over there. I mean, you can ride around. Know anything about drugs and drug dealers, and I may know more because I'm in law enforcement. However,
And
should
nothing
be,
against Preston nor our other officer here, because they're only limited what they can do. But I can tell you this, if we get rid of them two in our area, what he said is correct. Where I work, all of that trash, and I shouldn't say trash, but it's the truth, and I stand on the truth, from Chattahoochee, just like the drug dealers that came over here and wrecked the car, we're gonna have 10 times worse than that. And it ain't just gonna be from Chattahoochee, it's gonna be from all the surrounding areas. It's gonna be a lot worse than what we have now.
well, the reason I asked you that is because several months previously, I asked the chief, why are there not any arrests made in Sneads, Florida? And he says, I do not encourage my officers to write tickets. So I didn't know if our police department knew about these, and if there's everybody in the
I can
neighborhood
say they
knows.
know about them because they've been over there. They know about that one house I'm talking about, because they're there. They're there. However, the ringleader, I think, is locked up, so hopefully that's taken care of. But I will say, it ain't just there, it's all over the town. But where I work, I can say this.
They hadn't been arrested.
Do what?
I said, Quentin's had plenty of training, I think you could elaborate on why they.
Stop the conversation.
Hey,
We don't do it.
okay, all right, let me make this comment. Right now, we're down to 2 officers. To be frankly honest, we don't have the time to dedicate to what it takes to make a drug arrest. You can't just walk up to the house or drive up to the house and go there and bust them for dope. You got to have probable cause, there's a lot goes into that stuff.
Well, I agree with that, and
Right.
I understand
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
However, that's when maybe the county can come in and help our officers.
Right, well, you know,
More probable cause to have more officers here?
sir,
Is that not more probable cause to have more officers here?
I mean, we're gonna rely on the county, but the county ain't gonna, and I'm just gonna say it.
okay.
And like he said, we're not
You got anything else?
Huntsville, they don't go through, we're the end of the county.
All right, let Kay finish this. Thank you.
Mr. Mansfield.
But are they really gonna do it?
Hey, let's get it back orderly and let Kay finish what she's got to say when we get this thing wrapped up.
It sounds great.
We want to come to a resolve some kind of way.
Mr. Mansfield, I just wanted to say that the reason that this is called a meeting in with the budget, I mean, it's plain. We just do not have the money to fund the police department.
Where does the money come from?
And all of these derogatory comments that's made on Facebook about y'all don't do this, y'all hadn't done this. We, and I think we, have tried to do, and we've made a lot of progress. But when the police department is going to take $700,000 to fund it, and we got 1.2, and it may not even be 1.2 when the new budget comes in. That's what we were trying to get y'all to see, is we just can't afford it. And I've been here all my life, and I don't want Sneads to fold. I don't, and I don't want us to be incorporated with somebody else. And that's what I have to say. You know, I mean, that's what this was for us to all see in black and white. That we can't run this little town on what's left over.
If you will,
That
come.
budget, how many officers? is that
Hey,
budget?
if you don't mind, come back up front, please.
She's already been up front.
She's already been.
How many officers is that budget? I mean, taken for?
That was when we started the budget, it was for chief and 6
Okay,
officers.
but now we're down to 2.
That's through attrition, yes.
Okay, so that should be saving money, correct?
A little money right now, hopefully.
But I also want to take the time to say this. I appreciate every one of y'all, and I'm not here fussing at y'all. I'm just, my concerns for our town. I was
Absolutely.
born and raised here. I was gone for 15 years. I lived in Memphis, Tennessee, and outside of Tuscaloosa. But I will say, living in Memphis, Tennessee, where I lived, and outside of Tuscaloosa, and I'm gonna say it again because I don't like drugs, I'm just gonna say it. Where I lived, in those two big cities, we did not have what we have here. And maybe I can just see it because I'm in law enforcement. But it's a passion. We don't, it's a fear. It's a fear. Because we have young people that don't know right from wrong. And we have all these drug heads in this town. And I don't want my kids offered something. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, it ain't gonna be nice. Okay?
Thank you.
I'd like to clarify that what she was saying is that 20 years ago, the budget for the police department, I think, was $428,000. The two proposals I put forward are below that, below 20 years ago. So I think that's feasible.
Can you get?
Well, just to reiterate, like I said, 95% of the people in this room, everybody said, I'm from Sneads. I think 95% in this room are from Sneads. And probably graduated from Sneads High School. Okay? Like Mr. Timmy said, nobody said we was gonna just get rid of the police department. That's never an option. That's why Mr. Bill has come up with these 4 proposals. Getting rid of, we're gonna have some sort of police department. Okay? And it all goes back to a budget item. It's all about the budget.
About what you can afford.
Of what you can afford, what you can do. Okay? And like I say, this is just a first meeting, you know. No final decisions are gonna be made tonight, I don't believe, you know. So, like I say, y'all being here shows where your heart is at. And it's for the town. Like I say, Mr. Bill, he's working daily, we're trying to figure this out. Okay? That's up on the board right here. We want a police department. I live right there on River Road. I get to see quite a bit, you know? And I'm retired, so I get out and ride around. So I see when the officers, where they at, when they're doing. You know, like I say, we had 4. Now 2 other guys decided to go elsewhere, get better jobs or whatever. Proud of them. Happy for them, you know. But these 2 guys that are staying right now, we got to thank them daily for what they are doing.
Now, when did, just 1 minute, I'll get back, I'll circle back. I'm gonna pull a Jen Psaki on you, sir. When are we, expecting to hear something from Tallahassee on what our revenue shares will be?
The state's gotta do their budget first.
Probably after July.
I heard some information today that they are supposed to have their initial announcement of the budget. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and then they've got a 72-hour cool-off period before the legislature can vote on it by their rules.
Right.
So it'll be Friday or Saturday, you know, maybe the first of next week, we should have the state budget in place. And then it'll take the Department of Revenue some time to plug the numbers in and figure out what everybody's share of it is.
It's gonna be later than normal because
Yeah.
of the delay.
They're way
It's
late.
normally in the
They're
middle of
late.
July, so it'd probably be towards the end of July, 1st of August. We'll start seeing numbers come in.
Like I say, this is just the beginning of things, and I'll reiterate what everybody said. We didn't come here tonight to make a decision to abolish the police department. That's not my intent at all. I will never vote to abolish the police department in Sneads, Florida. I fought for it for years. I'm gonna continue to fight for it. I ain't saying we ain't gonna have to make some cuts and rearrange and do some downsizing. Quentin's come up with some numbers, and Lieutenant Preston been working with them. We're gonna have to sit down with them. We're gonna have to put some stuff together and look at it to kind of get ready for this budget that Tallahassee's gonna be sending us down. Who's to say, you know, that we can cut it in half and make do? But I think the consensus of the community is keep a police department, and that's my feelings tonight.
One question. Since we still got the budget, are they advertising for more policemen?
No, ma'am.
Are they going to at all?
We don't know, ma'am, until we get numbers from Tallahassee. And like I say, we may, if the council decides to keep the police department and keep 2, we may do that, or we may add another one. It's just according to what the budget looks like.
So these 2 are still gonna work?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Yes,
With
Larry, I'm gonna recognize Larry one more time.
Yeah, I want to address the issue drug czars right next to me.
Yes, sir.
Now, this dude here and several other police officers, they go up and down that street. These drug people are smart.
Yes, sir.
They can put it in their hands, we see them walking, they see the car coming, they must, I don't know how they do it. They have made arrests. Matter of fact, one of them's in jail now. They arrest them, they go to court, and they let them go.
Right.
So they have done their job.
Yes.
But the drugs that are right across from me, they're over in the Sneads, they're over there, they're everywhere. And we're talking about getting rid of our police department, these men are working trying to do everything they can do. And I know this is a budget meeting, and it ain't got nothing to do with what I'm saying, but I just wanted to let the record is, there are, Ms. Neal, there are some arrests made. These dudes here have arrested some people. I've watched them go to court and the judges let them go. So, just want to clarify that.
Okay,
Mike, real quick, it's on a total different subject. The school zone thing that's supposed to generate revenue through tickets. Mr. Cox, you may want to look into that. They are suing towns in Georgia right now. Yeah, so, I mean, to me, if you have a problem at the school zone, well, set a car up there, put an officer up there. Yes, I mean, it's, you know, I catch myself at certain times going through in the morning, and that school zone's not used. I know it's by law or whatever, but it's not used. I catch myself going through there too fast, okay? So it's just a little ridiculous, and I think you're gonna have a lot of mad people, plus some legit lawsuits off of it.
Anybody else got anything before we close out?
I just want to ask where the money comes for our police department.
I put that on the slide a few minutes ago, comes from Tallahassee and from county taxes and revenues. I had that on, had everybody there on the screen a little while ago, so you might have come in late. But it's all done from, we're talking about the state budget, them giving us our sales tax, our gas tax, our all the taxes that we get, revenues, that's our general fund, that's what it's based on. And it's exactly what we get, and that's all we get. Property taxes are part of that, a few other things, there's several taxes, but that's the basis for our budget. And we can't increase it, it is what it is, and we gotta live within it. That's the problem.
I don't know if everybody up here tonight has got satisfaction for what they come for or not, to be honest with you. You know, like I say, I'll mention it again, I'm not foreclosing the police department or abolishing it. I'm not sure how everybody else feels, because I don't violate the government in the sunshine by talking with them outside of these meetings. So they're gonna have to make that decision themselves. But, I'm not for it. Like I said earlier, I'd like to see it cut some, maybe, downsize a little bit. Mr. Hollis is talking about a budget that he's looked at. Mr. Rich has done his job. I would really, that's what I'm in hopes for. And, like I say, on my vote, I won't be abolishing the police department if that gives you some satisfaction. Yes, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say that I live on Highway 9, and all day long, I mean, I ain't outside all day, but I'm outside a lot. And the county deputies is going by my house, coming in the Sneads, all day long.
Do you, do we need to take any type of action tonight, or just?
No, like we said from the very beginning, this is to begin to gauge what level of service you want to fund for the police officers, and then make the decision on where we're going to get that money. And that's where I'll get involved with it, providing you your options for financing.
Okay, what I would like to say, if y'all will, what I would like to say is I don't feel accomplished myself right now. I'd like to hear from each council member what you got in mind. He's presented us some things here we need to work off of, and we need to give these people some resolution, even though we're not gonna vote on it. I'd like to hear your opinion on it.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir. You get the full front.
Lord. Budget-wise, I would like to see something like if we have a day shift and an evening shift here in town, and then contract with the county to cover a midnight for us. You know, do something like that, or just tell them, hey, if you're in Grand Ridge, Sneads, they're here. They should be able to respond in a good amount of time if they in this area. We could do something like that, you know? So that's what I like. And instead of these guys working 12-hour shifts, we put them back on an 8-hour shift and let them work. I think we could do it with 4, you know? But like I say, this is just a thing, we're throwing stuff out there.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Y'all wanna make any other comment before we call this thing to the end?
I just wanted to say again, I appreciate Mr. Bill putting all his effort. I appreciate, Mr. Bill putting all his effort and time into giving us this information. This is stuff I didn't know. I don't like the implication that people are saying people have taken money. Nobody's stolen money, okay? And that's very rude. Not nice at all. Nobody has stolen money. If anything, we've tried to pull from, like you said, Rob Peters' PayPal, okay? But y'all elected us. I promise you, we're doing our best to do whatever we can do to help y'all. And you know, you can call us anytime. But again, like you said, we don't want to get rid of the police department. We know we need them here. I mean, I've got my family here. They don't want to not be protected. But what entity it is or what entity it can be and the amount of money it takes, we've got to look at all that. I'll be honest, I've got to take this home and study it. I'm somebody that can't look and do all that. I have to highlight and look over stuff, so that's just me. So I can't tell you anything right now, but I agree with Mr. Arnold of at least having, you know, day and evening shift coverage, you know, probably they have to have, if we're gonna have any kind of money to do anything else, you know, people are saying, what about the ball field? What about the ball field? Can't do the ball field if you're paying $700,000 and $800,000 for a police department. Brand new park down here, that's only because of grants. So I'm just gonna be honest with you, you know, we just gotta weigh our pros and cons, okay?
Yeah, I had one more thing.
Criminal activity going on in your neighborhood, please reach out to me or Brett. I'll give you my cell phone number. I know you probably got Brett's already, because everybody does. But I don't mind giving my number to anybody. We will address it, whether it's loud music or heroin, it doesn't matter. We will address it, okay? So please.
All right, Mr. Perry?
Chris, I just want to follow up on the comment that you made, but the comment that you made, you're exactly right. You had came and talked to us about living within our means, and that's exactly just what we're trying to do. I've had a lot of I know I've had a lot of citizens that ask about different things, about why we can't do this, why we can't do that. What about the park? I had a lot of people talk about the log cabin, how the log cabin looks, about getting renovations to the log cabin. I mean, so many different things. And they talk about different cities like Grand Ridge. But a lot of those places, the reason that they could do some of the things that they do is because they don't have to fund the police department. Even for us with our Christmas lights. Ms. Neal, she done a fundraiser trying to help get us Christmas lights. And that's something that we shouldn't have to do. So basically all we're trying to do is find a happy medium to please the citizens as well as the budget. So we can still have what we need and get some of the things that we want to have. That's all we're trying to do.
You have anything else? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Arnold. All